1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the All Access Podcast from Dent Repair Now, number 84. Guys, I'm excited about this. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. Well, maybe not this topic, but the style. This is going to be the first of a 3-part series on shop versus mobile and ending up in a shop and what that looks like. So this is part 1. And then the next 2 weeks are going to be part 2 and 3. It's kind of funny how that works. And I'm doing this because I am getting ready to head on an anniversary trip with Melissa. We're going to be gone for 2 weeks, and I'm super, super excited to go enjoy our anniversary. 25 years already. Man, that flew by. I remember having a 25th anniversary party for her parents when we were first dating. So that's kind of crazy. Anyways, we were headed to Italy and Croatia and Montenegro to see some different parts of the world. So super excited for that. And I didn't want to let you down without podcasts. And I didn't want to podcast and mess up my vacation doing podcasts. And Lord knows what the internet will be like. So we're going to do a 3-part series. This is part 1. And then sometime in the next few days, I'm going to record 2 and 3. It'll all be published and scheduled out. And it will be seamless and headed out to you guys magically through the magic of the interwebs. So let's kick this off with, and I see this question comes up like pretty regularly online, where people are like, man, should I do a shop? I want to do a shop. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I enjoy having a shop, but it is not all butterflies and rainbows and door dings, right? So let's talk about some of that stuff. So what did my journey look like? Started PDR in 2002, worked through until, I want to say like 2013-ish is when I think PDR College was out. Facebook for PDR techs had really started to pop off. There were some groups. There was a lot of discussion. And retail started to become a thing, right? So chasing retail business, advertising, website, marketing, sales, like different than what I had pictured when I was originally becoming a PDR tech, right? I was just going to set up and do dealerships. And actually, I wanted to be a one-stop shop. The name of my company is Total Reconditioning Services. I wanted to be the one-stop reconditioner, right? Out of detail. I didn't want to detail anymore, but I wanted to do wheels and bumpers and dents and glass and interior and paint and blah, blah, blah. But all wholesale. Started to move into retail, right? And did retail completely mobile. Eventually worked my way into no real regular wholesale for myself and 100% mobile retail, right? And that was the direction that I personally headed in. I loved my mobile retail for the most part. Let's talk about some of the good stuff, right? So I loved when I was mobile that I could schedule whatever I wanted to schedule. Or if I got done early, I could just cut out. Or if I wanted to stop at the driving range and hit a bucket of balls in between stops, if everything was going smooth, I could, right? And that freedom, that mobile business freedom is probably even still, right? We've had a shop for, this is 26, 8.5 years. I've been living the shop life. That also has flown. Dear Lord. Anyways, 8.5 years in, I think I still miss my mobile repair business freedom more so than dealing with the overhead of having a shop, right? The extra work that it takes to do this. I more miss my freedom, right? If I wanted to take a day off, all we had to do was not schedule any cars to be repaired that day, and I could take the day off. Now, right, with the shop, whether it was the old shop or the new shop, I'm a firm believer that if you're going to have a shop, especially on a main road, you better be open. Otherwise, people are going to think you're fly by night or you're not really a real business, right? So that was that is still a big downside for me of the shop is losing that freedom, right? Or if I wanted to go, I remember back in 16 when Louis was really good enough to speed, like really could handle everything, and I had Jennifer to answer the phones, and I went out and I did hail for, I think it was 6 weeks. No big deal. Just schedule the cars out for 6 weeks. Hey, we're crushed. Gene got called out to this, and mobile work, we'll just schedule it out when we got it. So like it was really, really crazy. So I think if you are a mobile tech, the first question, and again, that's what I still not regret. I don't really have any regrets, but it's still what I miss the most today is, do you want a shop? Or for that shop that you want, are you willing to give up the freedom you have of mobile work, right? Because you can be tied to the shop. I think an alternative to that, right? Side note, that's not really in my notes for this. An alternative to that, if you want the shop, not so much for walk-in traffic, but just somewhere to have your more complex repairs or store your bigger tools, do your bigger, crazier stuff, you can get a shop and just not advertise it. Get it, like back in an industrial park where nobody's going to drive by and find you. That is not a bad way to play, make a play on being able to do some of the shop damage, but without losing 100% of your freedom, right? But you just ramp up your overhead. Why did I switch to a shop? Not just because it was cool, right? I think the idea of a shop is cool, but not as cool as doing what you want to do when you want to do it. I will tell you the day that I decided I need a shop. Now, the weather is different all over the country, but I live in Pittsburgh. We're in the Northeast. And funny note, I believe, if I remember the statistic right, we only get like 1 day less of rain or 1 day more of rainy days than Seattle, right? To give you an idea of how wet the climate can be here. With that, not only do we get rain days, we get snow days, and we get bitter cold, right? We always have a week or two where we could see sub-zero temperatures, or at least sub-zero wind chills, right? Where it's just ripping and nasty, and it's just no fun to be out. So, the day that pushed me, I had been looking for a shop. I wanted a shop. I thought it was a natural progression of, I weaned myself personally off of day-to-day wholesale and moved into day-to-day retail. I think the natural progression was like, man, it would be great to be in a shop and have a controlled environment and not lose all of this drive time from one car to another car, right? When you're wholesale, you go one bunch of cars to one bunch of cars. So you have an unpack, and maybe you do 5 cars here, and you unpack and you do 10 cars here, and then you unpack and you do 5 more there. And at the end of the day, you did 20 cars with 2 stops. Not that I think it's possible, but if you tried to do 20 retail cars, right, you would do 20 different stops. Or, I can remember a busy mobile retail day back in the day would be 4 or 5 stops in a day because I have to get there, unpack, talk to the customer, sort of resell the job, fix the job, pack up, talk to the customer, drive to the next stop, and rinse and repeat. So you lose a lot of time there. Anyways, focus, Gene. Come on, focus. Anyways, the day that pushed me over the edge to find a shop, again, I had been looking. It's tough to find, at least here, it was tough to find good garage space because we had a big oil and gas boom. The Marcellus Shale, I think is what it is. Anyways, they figured out a way to fracture shale deep in the earth and pull natural gas out and created a big boom. Well, a lot of those companies, they were buying up old body shops, scooping up garages. Like, it became not impossible or nearly impossible to find space. So it is wintertime. Can't remember the month. Probably January, I would suppose, because I found it pretty fast after that. It had to have been January of 18. We got cars scheduled out, a week or two ahead of time. We can't always tell the weather. And, right, I still need to pay my bills. I had Jennifer on payroll. I had Louie on payroll. Like, we still need to make money. So just because it's snowy out doesn't mean that I'm not going to work. Well, I had a pretty good retail job scheduled for this particular day. And we messaged the guy or called the guy and like, hey, are you there? I don't want to drive out in the snow if you're not going to be there. And he's like, no, sure, yeah, we're good. Come on over. I'm actually working from home today. Blah, blah, blah. We're good. So I roll up to his house. And if you've never been to Pittsburgh, there are a lot of hills. In fact, lots of people are like, man, how do you even know where you're going? It's hills and nothing straight lines. I'm like, well, it's just what we grew up with. So I get there, and this dude, nice little Cape Cod house, and his freaking driveway looks like a cliff. I mean, it's a pretty steep driveway, and I park down on the road and go up and get my tools out. And I think at the time I was doing like a Home Depot 5-gallon bucket with the sleeve that goes around it with all the slots, and I had all my tools in there. It was sort of like my little mobile in and out setup. I may have been working out of I think I was working out of the Silverado by then. In fact, I for sure was. But anyways, I had a tonneau cover, so it wasn't like I had a big pack out setup and the pack outs weren't around. So a little, call it dolly style tool cart that I had built. Got that in the driveway. Fixed the dent. And I'm getting ready to pack up. Now, I'm on a hill, right? We'll give you a good visual here, visual description, and show you if you're on camera, right? So let's pretend that my headphone case is my cart, and I'm on this steep driveway, and it's below me. It's downhill, and I go to grab the handle, and as I grab the handle, I just bump it, and it was snowy out, remember? So in slow motion, this cart starts sliding down the hill, and it's icy, snowy. I'm not gonna run after this thing. I go to grab it right as it's like this and hits clearly a bump, and the whole thing upends. And I told you it's all in a bucket, right, with sleeves. The freaking cart tips over, and all of my whole freaking cart empties, goes down this driveway, which would suck on a regular day. That would suck on a sunny day. It extra sucked on that particular snowy ass day. So now all my stuff falls out. I've got to dry it all off. I've got to find it, right? Digging through the snow to make sure I have everything. The level of frustration I felt, like, I'm out here. I got to fix these cars. I get this stupid snow. What the hell's wrong with me? This is ridiculous. I can't do this anymore. I have to have a shop. I'm done with this. And I just made my mind up. And I really feel like when you make your mind up like that, sometimes you can do a little manifesting because it's all emotion. And dadgummit, I was fired up, and I'm like, I need a damn shop. Well, I really feel like it was later that week where I was in another part of town, and I had stopped at Panera because that was like my mobile office. I stopped at a Panera to do some computer work, whatever I was doing at the end of the day. And I come down Campbell's Run, I turn left, and you have to come back kind of out of your way from that particular Panera. And then you turn right, and you go up and loop on like a big old quarter clover leaf on-ramp. And I was talking to Jennifer on the phone, like wrapping up at the end of the day. Hey, what's going on? I come around this bend, and I look over, and I see this. It would look like a white piece of poster board. And scribbled in marker was short-term lease available and a phone number. But I'm kind of in this turn, and again, it's a swoopy turn, and I go up past the on-ramp, like you can go under the highway and go up the hill. I'm like, Jen, I got to call you back. I think I saw a shop for rent. So I flip it back around, come back down, grab my phone, and I call the number, and it was like, call Dawn. So I call the number, and I'm like, hey, Dawn, my name's Gene. I see your sign here on Campbell's Run. What is a short-term lease? And he goes, well, the county's taking the building for a project. He's like, but I can guarantee you at least a year. So what we're doing is a 1-year lease and then a month-to-month renewal. Do you want to come see it? I'm like, well, yeah. Do you want to do it now? He's like, well, no, I can meet you in the morning. I think we did ask price. He goes, man, I want $1,100 a month for this place. And that is a freaking steal. That was a steal 8.5 years ago. That's an extra steal now. But I'm like, man, this could be exciting. I drive home, tell Melissa, and we got to be there at whatever. Meet the dude at 9:00 in the morning, whatever it is. So we both roll up, and the dude's there, and he is like this burly, gruff, older, crotchety mechanic car guy. Like he was something. God, we rest in soul, Don. I miss you, brother. Or rest in peace. Miss you, brother. But anyways, he's rough. I mean, gruff. Like, you going to pay your rent? You going to do this? You can do this with that PDR Dent stuff? I've heard about that. Are you going to be able to pay your bills? Who'd you vote for in the election? I mean, like, it was something. And while we're there, and I don't know if this was staged. I don't think it was staged because he wasn't nearly as gruff. He's actually a sweet dude. But somebody called while we were there, and they were like, hey, Don, you want that building? I saw you got it up for rent, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, I got people looking at it right now. And he's going him and hawing back and forth. And Melissa pulls out the checkbook, and she goes, listen, bud, here's the deal. What do you need for a security deposit? This is ours. We're taking it. And he was sort of like dumbfounded and taken back. And I think we gave him first month's rent and 1 month's rent for security deposit or something like that. And that was that, right? And that got us into our first shop. But it was for me, the big push was here in Pittsburgh, the initial shove was that weather. And that snowy day is the one that pushed me over the top to make it happen, right? I had to have a shop, right? If we've got 100 rainy days a year, like that's a lot of days where, and this seems to be universal across the country. Just because people have a garage doesn't mean that they can actually park their car in it, or they're in a subdivision where they've squeezed every little inch out of it, and you can't even hardly walk next to the car when it's in the garage, right? So we had tons of all these weather-dependent repairs because they don't have a garage. Well, then, we're scrambling. It just wasn't an easy way to operate at all. So weather was my biggest driver, for sure. After having a shop, of course, the weather thing is great. The next best thing is being able to deal with insurance companies. Right? It was nearly impossible to try to do supplements, try to do an estimate with an insurance adjuster. You can't count on, their schedules are crazy. They can't come out and meet you at 8:02 a.m. at this place. So we passed on a lot of it, or kept the price to the level where they weren't going to make a claim, just to avoid that. Now, especially now with the shop with more space, we can have cars drop off. We can wait. We can bring the adjuster in. We can show everything. The ability to do larger repairs and more insurance claims is a huge driver for us. Changes the game. Oh, capacity, right? So when we were talking about some mobile versus shop, or if you're doing retail, like I said, you could go do 20 wholesale cars in a day. And I still have never done 20 retail cars in a day. But we could do more than 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. When you have all your pack up, unpack, drive, unpack, load, all your interactions, you're burning a ton of your day. You might actually end up, depending what your service circle looks like, with a half a day. Another big advantage to the shop is I can do more retail cars. One, because I don't have any drive time. Two, I don't have any pack or unpack. And three, I've sort of gotten in the habit of just to hold the cars longer. Or, right, we've got the bigger job. So we're finishing up a $6,000 hail car. Well, that was here all last week. We had to wait on the adjuster and everything, so it wasn't like it was an all-week repair. But we could drop that off, and then with a couple other bigger jobs, mid $2,000 panels, and we can sprinkle in a bunch of door ding repairs or smaller dents where come in, knock 2 or 3 of those out, or you get tired of working on the big dent, step over and do a door ding or 2 or a smaller dent, and then come back with fresh eyes. Like, it really, really makes a difference. And also, I have no problem leaving a car taken apart, right? We've got the hood off of this car, the hatches off of this car, the sunroof's out of this car. Well, I can't do that at your house, or at least certainly not easy. Where are we going to put it? And I can't do it in a parking lot, right? Or how often are we pulling doors? We pull doors all the time here. Not comfortable with that in a parking lot or your driveway. 2, I wasn't driving a semi around. I couldn't carry my door stand and my hood stands and my everything. Like, it just doesn't work. I can do more retail capacity at the shop than I could ever do mobile out on the road, right? So that's a pretty big deal. Now, with that comes the extra overhead of a shop. So I've got rent, albeit I started pretty cheap at the first place. I promise you we're making it up for it at this place. 2, extra insurance. 3, extra staffing, right? If you've got to keep somebody there full time or even part time, so if you're still out and about and doing dealer work, all of that increases. All of that increases your overhead, right? So it's a different animal. The shop adds a ton of legitimacy to your business, right? If we're talking about bigger jobs, do you want Chuck in a truck to show up and do your work? Or do you want an established shop that's a real business that's not going anywhere, right? As a shop owner, I have to sell against the mobile guy, right? Do you just want some dude rolling up with a gun case full of tools in the back of his truck and see what happens? Or do you want to come to a real business and get it done the right way? Now, if I were mobile, man, do you want to pay an inflated price just because the guy wants to have a nice warm shop to work in? That's ridiculous. Why don't me pass those savings on to you? Because I don't have to do rent and extra insurance and pay this front person and do this and heat and utilities. You can sell either way. I'm going to sell as the shop owner because I've got the shop and it's what we can do. That overhead, though, when you're mobile, man, that's nice. I remember, so we had to move out of the shop. In fact, we signed the lease in February, opened up in March, and in May, the county came in and they were like, we need to get you the hell out of here because we're tearing the building down, right? They were trying to fast track the thing. Well, then funding happened and COVID happened, and it was 6 years, almost to the day, 6 years from the time they were like, you got to get the hell out, to when we actually got the hell out. But that low overhead, I was thinking, and now that was cheap, right? $1,100 a month. Utilities weren't that bad. Internet wasn't that bad. Like, it really wasn't. It was an amazing first start into a shop to sort of test the waters. But when we couldn't find somewhere and I thought we were going to get pushed out by the end of the year, I'm like, man, what am I going to do? I'm getting a little soft now that I can work in a nice building. I thought hard about, because we hadn't hired Dave. It was still just me and Louie and Jake and Jennifer and Melissa, right? So I was still actively pushing every day. I was like, man, we could buy the big Sprinter van, right? The tall one that I could comfortably do jump rope in. I'm like, here's what I could do. Because we're spending $1,500 or $1,600 a month to be in here, like, I can lay a van out pretty good. I was going to get the tall van And mobile guys, think about this, right? Because this could be an option instead of a shop. And, right, it doesn't go on forever. So, big, tall Sprinter van. I was going to get a nice awning that came out of the side, like custom upfits, make some. And then I was going to take the heavy, like body shop curtains, and I could curtain off basically a bay next to the van. I was going to put a big rooftop air conditioner in so I could work in air conditioned van, or back of the van, air conditioned outside. And then I was going to get some of those, because that custom upfits made really nice pull out generator things that would roll out of the back of the truck or the side of the van. Put up big infrared heaters. Man, you could spend some serious money and really get like an actual mobile Dent shop, right? So I contemplated that, and I was like, well, if I spend $100,000 on that, roll that over whatever they'll finance those custom upfit vans for you for, and then at the end of that, I've paid for a van, and I won't have to worry about it, and it's not that ongoing headache that is the shop, right? And if I ever left the shop completely and was still going to do retail PDR, even if I had to go back to wholesale PDR, I think we're building that van, right? But comparatively, the pimped out, most amazing mobile rig ever is still less than like the cheapest shop ever. Does that make sense? I don't know. Something to think about. How do you know what's right for you? Right, is sort of the question. You got to think long and hard about it. Decide what you want to do. Decide what your business really is. I think that a lot of technicians are in smaller markets, and they're doing well in the smaller market, and they're doing well mobile with a mix of wholesale and retail and body shop. And they think, man, if I could just go to the shop and everybody would bring me everything, it would be amazing. Well, we all know, realistically, your dealers aren't bringing you cars. Or certainly not many cars. Man, too hard this weekend. Now, that being said, side note, I do get some of our local, closer to the shop dealers. They will just bring cars and drop them off. And they're like, hey, get to you when you can get to it. Or if Mac's out at the Ford store, and he's like, man, I can fix this, but we got a shrinky box sitter. We're pulling the door off. Run it down to the shop, and we'll get it fixed up. All right, and we do that all the time. Or, hey, we got a sold car. Run the sold car down, and we'll get it. The service drives, the service people are sending customers to us, and or sometimes they'll take it in and bring us the service car, and we do it up. Like, there's some advantages there. But anyways, how do you know what's right for you? Look at see what you can find and see what your overhead looks like. And I really think, even though I'm a burn the boats guy and like go all in, I really think in some smaller markets, or if you're just not sure, try to find yourself a shop, call it off the beaten path, that is not scary for a customer to come to, that still looks like a business. Like, I wouldn't put a barn up behind your house and like tell them to go drive down the dirt road. Like, that seems a little sketchy, but you can still find slightly off the beaten path garages that you can get to that are big enough to allow you to do bigger jobs. That might not be a bad stepping stone if you're thinking about getting into the market. If you are in a super hail prone market, I think a shop's a pretty much no-brainer, right? If hail is your focus and you can chase and capture retail hail, man, the percentage you're not giving up to the body shop is huge on a car-by-car basis, right? You can cover that rent quickly. And also, it allows you to build that year-round presence, right? Build a customer base, build everything so that when there is that hailstorm that comes through, you've already got relationships established with your customers. You've got, hopefully, their information. You can use your CRM and go out and start blasting that marketing to people who already know, like, and trust you, right? And make that magic happen. So think about it and look at population size. So when I started mobile retail, 13, 14, somewhere around there. I remember doing Facebook ads right when they came out. And when I was looking at the metrics, our metro region was like 1.4 million people is what was in my circle. I saw the other day some dude was like, I've got 20,000 people in my city. Bro, that's not very many people. We have 6,000 kids in our school district. Like, I would be a little worried about scaling or being able to do enough in that small of a market. Now, that being said, he did say he was in a hail-prone area. Right. He's got to think about it, figure out what makes sense for you. But population has to come into play. Next episode, we are going to talk about what the actual transition from mobile to shop looked like. Some of the hurdles that I went through, some of the wins we had, some of the changes that I did not see coming at all. We're going to go over all of that. It's going to be a great show. It's really, I almost feel like I could do a presentation on it. In fact, I think if you really look at the roundtable that me and Matt Moore have spearheaded the last 3 MTEs, I believe, a lot of these questions come up as like, what's it look like to do a shop? How do you do this? How do you do that? We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm excited for episode 2. Now, with that, let me check my notes. Again, not normally a note guy, but I'm trying to make this cohesive for y'all. Got my intro, got my story, pros and cons of mobile, pros and cons of a shop. We talked about those. How do you know what's right for you? Like, again, I think freedom's big. Like, do you like that mobile freedom? Population is big. Can it sustain? Are you going mainstream? Are you going off? Do you want to stay solo? Do you want employees? Do you want, even if it's office employee, like all stuff to think about. And I guess it's something to keep in mind. And this really, I think, will be a common thread through these episodes, through these 3 episodes. Nothing's permanent. Like, if I wanted to say screw it tomorrow and pack it up and go chase hail, well, it's not a really good hail year. But I could pack up my stuff and go to some of these towns that were smoked with hail and like walk away. If the shop wasn't working out or didn't work out, quit. Don't renew your lease. Pay to get out of the lease early. Like, none of it's set in stone. You've got to try it in order to figure out what is going on. Right? So, anyways, let's do the marketing minute. Now let me find that window. Sound effects. It is here. All right, so this is a short one. This is episode 4 of the PDR Marketing Minute. So, without further ado.
And now, it's time for the PDR Marketing Minute, your weekly quick tip to help you build your PDR business.
Hey, welcome back. Episode 4 of the PDR Marketing Minute. I'm Gene Fetty, your host. Let's get started. Today, we're going to keep working on our checklist that we started all the way back in episode 1, and we're going to talk about creating your Facebook business page. Right off the bat, I see a lot of people who try to run their Facebook business out of their personal profile. They may even have their name, their personal name, as a business name. Facebook really frowns on that, and I've even seen a couple people get banned from Facebook for not using their real name. What you want to do is create a business or a fan page for a local business. In the menu, you can find a spot where it'll say create a page. Go in there, choose the option to create one for a local business, and it's really pretty straightforward, much like the Google video we're going to be making. I'm also going to make a video for how to set your Facebook page up. A couple of things you want to keep in mind. You want to make sure that your name, address, and phone number match exactly how you set up in your Google listing. Local SEO relies on that. The little acronym is NAP, so name, address, phone number. Make sure that all matches. Once you get the page up and running, do not I'm going to repeat that again. Do not ask a bunch of Dent technicians to go and like your page to get your likes up. That's going to hurt you in the long run, and we're not going to be able to come back and be able to market as well with your page. It's perfectly fine and a great idea to get some of your local family and friends to come through and give you some likes and some shares. And then you want to add content. Keep it simple. 3 to 5 times per week max is all you need to do. We'll be diving much deeper into Facebook as the episodes progress, but that's all for today. Thanks for listening. I can't wait to talk to you all next week. All right. So not bad advice. Still relevant. Facebook is still relevant. Meta as a whole is still relevant. The NAP, the name, address, phone number, is still crucial across the board, right? You got to make sure that is correct everywhere. The don't ask a bunch of Dent guys to follow your page. Screw that. Ask everybody to follow your page, because now, more so than back then, number of followers is street cred in the world, right? So if somebody had 200 followers back in the day, and I think it would be likes, actually, not even followers. If you have 200 likes back in the day, oh, okay, a lot of people like this. Now, man, if you don't get thousands of views on a post, you need to start worrying about it, I guess. Content-wise, 3 to 5 times a week, I would agree. I think that's solid. As far as not messing up who you're showing to or ads or anything like that, the algorithms are so good today that you don't need to sweat it, not for a second. Like it's really crazy. So yeah, don't sweat that. So that's PDR Marketing Minute episode 4 is in the books. All right, it is time for all right, so this week's tool of the week is the shotgun. How'd you like that? Oh, there we go. Look at that. Come on, focus on it. There it is. The shotgun auto-loading slide hammer by Fast PDR. Right, so there's the shotgun and by Fast PDR. This is an auto, well, I guess it's not auto because you still have to cock it, but it's got a trigger right here that gives you the same pull every single time. And most importantly, for this old dude's shoulders, is like, I'm not slamming it like this. Or go check out Dent Slayer's video that Matt dropped this week on grabbing slide hammers backwards and pull with your tricep instead of with your shoulder. Anyways, this thing I picked up a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. Right when they came out, it was right after I saw it on Tool Porn Thursday from our buddy Craig. We had talked about this when I was down, I guess that would have been for the open house. So I knew it was coming, but I saw it, and then my buddy John Yeager shared in a group text talking about how fun that was, and that, I think I had mine on the way by then. Anyways, it was on my list of things like I want to check out. Pretty awesome. Now, I made a personal upgrade to this. There's a safety here. You kind of see that. Right there's the safety. The way I was holding this, I kept accidentally shoving my safety in, and then it wouldn't shoot. So I just taped over my safety because it was getting in my way. Man, that hail car that I was talking about earlier in the episode. Wholesale hail car that was here earlier this week with just a littered rail. Like it was, if this wasn't a wholesale car, we would have been like, just conventional this side. So anyways, I'm like, man, I can finally get the shotgun. So from Anson, I ordered the shotgun, and then it came with 3 of the gold PDR outlet cold glue tips and a 3-pack of the Glexo Diablo preloaded dots. These things are great to load up and put on the slide hammer, right? So I already used this one. Loving my Glexo Diablo. The only time I haven't loved it all summer was when we had like near 100-degree days. I had to cool the panel off a little bit to use this. But as a whole, the rest of the time, this stuff is amazing. And normally I'm just giving it a little flash of heat. But dude, so this was so consistent and so easy. So I probably had 75 or 100 dents down this rail. And really the majority of them, call them soft nickels, right? Like good dents, but no real pits. I'm able to reach out, give it a wiggle, wham, and then reload, wham. And I really just flew down that whole rail. And it made a nice pull. What I noticed about this is when I get my best pulls with cold glue, if I'm using, bigger slide hammer, I actually teach to like take your hand and push into the panel and continue to hold pressure while you're sliding out. So you're two different directions. Well, with the smaller slide hammers for the rails, sort of lose that ability because you're like one hand, squish, wham, wham. With this, I am able to, I don't want to mess my phone up. I'm able to hold down and squish, and I'm holding tight into the panel and then getting a great drive up. Love it. Like, I don't want to say I thought it was going to be a little gimmicky. Like, I like the fast PDR stuff. I'm like, I've got to give it a try. So glad I did. So, upgraded mine, blocked that safety. I may look for something because this looks like it may be 3D printed. If it's not 3D printed, it is a pretty rough texture. And since I'm a shop guy now and I've got my dainty hands, I did notice that after so many pulls, it was maybe a little bit rough on the hand or a little bit hard on the calluses. I may find something. That's got to be 3D printed. I may find something to put on there. But the magnets are great. It won't roll away. I guess you can't really see the back of my desk. Anyways, the shotgun, and available as a kit from Anson PDR with the 3 tabs and the 3, if I can hold it up right, Glexo Diablo glues. Man, you cannot go wrong with that. And this does take I guess it's more the European cold glue thread or the standard thread. So Glexo, Kiko, Dead Dent Tools, Tequila. Does Tequila have tips? Anyways, they all use this smaller bolt head. It's that size. The Dent Slayer and VIP use 5/16, so a little heavier. So this is made for the smaller diameter tabs. I guess Sergio's would also fall into there. But anyways, the fast shotgun auto slide hammer is the tool of the week. And this thing is pretty freaking awesome. I was thoroughly impressed with how well it worked. And I had to share it because it did work so well. So that is the tool of the week. Now, back to your regularly scheduled podcast. All right. Listen, we are still open for some apprentices. I had some people reach out. One guy couldn't make it work, but he still may try to learn PDR. And I'm supposed to have another meeting with another guy this week about some part-time stuff. I'm super stoked for that. Still would love to get a couple good apprentices in here that we can start you on your career into PDR and really, truly, truly set you up for success. PDR Expo is coming up September 25th and 26th. I can't wait to see you out there. If you haven't got your tickets, go get your tickets, which reminds me I need to email him about my tickets. All right, we got to do that. I am going to be off the grid for a couple of weeks. I'm sure I'll still pop in on social media, but If you need something from me and I'm traveling around the world, I will get back to you when I get back. As always, go follow us at Dent Repair Now across the board on all social channels. We would love to have you like our Facebook page or follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, go subscribe on YouTube. Anyways, get after it. Thank you all so much for watching episode, where's the outro? Episode number 84 is in the books. Make sure you come back next week for part 2 of what it really looks like to open the shop and switch from mobile to retail. See ya.